Jesus Christ. Well, Colbert was never really a stand-up, so, I mean, I guess he has that.
No, but I mean...
But he was a comic when the Colbert Report was on. I mean, that was hilarious.
It was really good.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great. And that show was a great takeoff of a pompous, ridiculous Republican.
Exactly.
I mean, it was really good. And then when you see this, you're like, wait a minute. What are you doing?
Right.
The fuck are you doing?
Picture having your entire reputation set ablaze by Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly, both in the very same week. Stephen Colbert strutted onto his stage, believing he was the clever conductor of a comedy show, only to realize he had become the very joke himself. From smug grins to devastating public smackdowns, Rogan and Kelly didn't just criticize him, they ripped apart the so-called late-night king, plunging him into a full-blown identity crisis. What exactly tumbled from his mouth that triggered such a merciless takedown? And why is Twitter melting faster than his collapsing ratings? Brace yourself. This is the Colbert roast you never thought you'd see.
Her appearance on Stephen Colbert last night was next level. He's so gross. So gross. I remember the Stephen Colbert who tried to just make us laugh, who is like kind of fun, and who, while we always knew he was leftist, didn't realize he hated the other half of the country so much.
Stephen Colbert, once celebrated as America's sharpest late-night comedian, has transformed his stage into nothing more than a lecture hall, masked as a comedy show. He was once a master of parody with razor-edge brilliance, but now he's the face of smugness, serving up nightly sermons to an audience that laughs only at the echo of their own self-righteousness. Somehow, he shifted from mocking blowhards to embodying one himself. And the tragedy? He didn't even notice. This isn't growth. It's regression wrapped in applause.
Did you see what happened with Colbert's audience?
No.
CNN is a joke to people in the audience. Watch this.
He knew his attack lines on President Biden, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris, 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is.
That's supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is.
The audience is like, shut the fuck up.
Colbert's late-night stage has collapsed into a pulpit, where sharp wit is buried, and smugness multiplies with every second. He's become the living version of a corporate motivational post. If it wore glasses, sipped flat Chardonnay, and believed parroting White House talking points with jazz hands counted as courage, what once sparkled as clever satire has decayed into a hollow act, drenched in arrogance and stripped of charm.
It was, but it is so smart. He said Colbert came up and made his name playing a loving portrayal of a sort of useful idiot, a sort of dum-dum on the right who meant well but was, a real idiot. And now he's playing a useful idiot in a very loving portrayal of the left, a real dum-dum who means well but doesn't know anything, only he doesn't realize it this time.
Then there's Joe Rogan, the man recording podcasts in a studio so dim it looks like a seance is about to start. Yet somehow, he's become a beacon of sanity next to Colbert's carnival of performative virtue. When Rogan speaks, it might be between kettlebell lifts and bites of elk, but at least his sentences end with questions, not declarations. Colbert, by contrast, talks like the human form of a full stop. He doesn't care what you think. He only demands you listen to him.
Colbert from the show was this genius parody. Now he's just Stephen Colbert.
Right.
That's who he is.
They destroyed the essence by giving him something.
The best example of it was when Jon Stewart came on. And Jon Stewart was doing that bit about the lab leak theory. And Colbert is jumping in and stepping all over it.
Right.
And I'd like to see some evidence of that. Like, he's like fucking up the bit. Clearly, Stewart, who's a great comic, is in the middle of a bit.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And Colbert's trying to, he's like, you can see the panic in his eyes that this is not going along with the narrative. So he's hamstringing the bit.
Right.
Which is crazy to see.
Yeah, because his whole body is like physically mortified by the idea that he's sending off the wrong signals now.
Megyn Kelly, fresh off a career of clashing with everything from the Trump juggernaut to the woke mob, looked Colbert in the eye and declared, "That's not journalism, that's karaoke for Democrats?" And she nailed it. When your best punchline night after night is Orange Man Bad, delivered with the energy of a cheap car ad, you're not taking on power. You're just selling partisan merch with a smirk.
Would you look at this?
There are quite a few billionaires who support you. You are from Northern California, after all, where they grow them in fields out there. Who's your favorite billionaire? Because we all have a favorite billionaire. On three. 1, 2, 3. Oprah. I'm sorry. I claimed Oprah. You can't take her now.
What's happened to him is what happens to virtually every news personality and late night personality and host of popular shows, podcasts, etc., which is they start getting invited to parties with Jennifer Aniston, etc. And they start thinking they're finally one of the cool kids. And then they drink the Kool-Aid. It's amazing to me that he would embarrass himself that way and that they would think it's good politics to get up there being so chummy chum about how close they are with billionaires like Oprah.
Let's stroll through Colbert's comedy graveyard, shall we? A true satirist would roast everyone in power, but not Stephen. His jokes are filtered tighter than airport security. If the punchline even grazes a Democrat, it gets confiscated at the gate. Watching his show feels less like entertainment and more like being scolded by a barista for not announcing your pronouns fast enough. You're not laughing, you're being corrected with jazz hands. Colbert doesn't deliver jokes anymore. He delivers sermons with a laugh track. He could turn a silly gag into a campaign donation drive. You tuned in for comedy, but suddenly you're stuck in a lecture on climate change, inequality, and how you're not woke enough for his audience. Meanwhile, Rogan, the so-called meathead with a mic, actually invites scientists, doctors, philosophers, fighters, and even guests who oppose him. Colbert's idea of a daring interview? Anthony Fauci walking on stage to thunderous applause before uttering a single word. The last time Stephen challenged someone's view was when he questioned if their tie looked too purple.
Colbert's an interesting cat, man.
Yeah, he is.
He's a bunch of things rolled up into one because he's a legitimate Catholic. Like, he's really Catholic.
Yeah.
Despite all the scandals and kid and all the craziness. And then on top of that, he's this character, but now he's not the character anymore.
No. Yeah.
Now he's like a guy who's not totally playing the character, but the character comes in and out like little shadows.
Yes, it does.
And it's like, what are you? What's your real thoughts on things? Because I know you as Colbert.
Yeah.
I know you from the Colbert Report, this hilarious fake Republican guy.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing, I'm not sure what's going on here.
Joe Rogan runs his podcast like an unpredictable adventure of curiosity, while Colbert runs his show like a smug TED Talk hosted by a valedictorian who mistakes sarcasm for wisdom. You can almost hear the inner monologue shouting, "I am brilliant. They will clap. They always clap." Megyn Kelly, now unchained and fearless, exposed Colbert as the human version of Twitter, virtue signaling dressed up as moral superiority. He's so terrified the audience might think independently that he drowns every joke in condescension. Kelly has witnessed White House press briefings with more backbone than his interviews. Once upon a time, late-night comedy was actually about laughter. Now it's therapy for urban elites craving reassurance that they're superior to their Midwestern cousins. And Colbert? He plays the therapist. A therapist who pauses your session to roll a clip of Biden licking ice cream and calls it leadership. When Rogan digs into COVID, he brings in doctors. When Colbert talks COVID, he wheels out dancers dressed as syringes. Yes, he literally turned vaccine cheerleading into a Broadway show. Nothing screams trust the science like sequins, jazz hands, and nasal swab choreography. It wasn't satire. It was a fever dream cooked up by someone binge-watching Rent on hallucinogens.
The left-wing New York City audience brought some truth to the matter. Watch.
Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. No, I know. CNN makes it. I know
that's supposed to be a laugh line.
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is.
Unbelievable. How humiliating and good for that audience. They knew that was a farce.
The way Colbert bows to political power is like watching a court jester who forgot he's not the king. This is the same man who brought Kamala Harris on stage and fired off the tough question, "What's your favorite emoji?" Nixon faced harsher questions on the day he resigned. And of course, the audience erupted in laughter, because apparently, satire now means making politicians feel cozy. Joe Rogan once grilled a scientist for hours about mRNA vaccines. Colbert spent minutes dancing in sync with a guy dressed as a syringe. Which one looks like the clown, and which one looks like the adult in the room? Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly came prepared with receipts, while Colbert was busy producing ideological theater. She reminded everyone that real journalists are punished for asking hard questions, while Colbert challenges nothing but your patience. He's not a satirist, he's a content machine for a pre-approved choir. The only thing he delivers are talking points with a flashing applause sign. He's even turned clapping into comedy. Any line he delivers, he just waits for the Pavlov-trained crowd to erupt like obedient pets. That isn't wit. That isn't edgy. It's mechanical. You could train squirrels to do the same thing with a bag of almonds and reruns of MSNBC.
Yeah, well, also with him, it's like that's what brought him to the dance.
Yeah.
The reason why you're there is like, what kind of meetings did they have with him?
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to do here? We're going to play this straight? Or are you going to be Colbert?
Colbert's greatest thrill now is mocking anyone who dares to oppose him politically. And sure, it sounds daring until you realize he's performing for an audience that already agrees with every word. It's like debating a vegetarian about steak at a tofu festival. No risk, no pushback, just smugness on display. Meanwhile, Rogan has sat across from Bernie Sanders, Ben Shapiro, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, all in the same seat. Because, unlike Colbert, he's not afraid of unscripted chaos. That's what real conversation looks like. Colbert's version of dialogue? A monologue with decorative pauses. And when Megyn Kelly talks politics, she does it with iron in her voice and zero fear of blowback. Colbert, by contrast, is like if Wikipedia and Reddit had a smirking child trapped in an echo chamber, so deep in his bubble he could whisper into a pillow and still get a standing ovation. Let's not forget his dramatic shift into a cheerleader for the very institutions he once mocked. Remember when he tore apart hypocrisy and exposed corruption? Now he tells you to shut up and obey, only with a wink and a band to play you out. The funniest thing isn't his monologues, it's that he still thinks he's rebellious. His entire formula boils down to 3 steps: smirk, parrot, clap. He smirks to prove he's in on the joke, parrots whatever sells, and then claps, through his audience. That's not comedy. It's theater for people who think NPR is edgy.
My friends, but these people are all friends. Like Rachel Maddow and Democratic Party politicians, they're friends.
Have you ever seen a video of Chuck Schumer and Stephen Colbert dancing together?
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
You need to see it.
Do we have time?
You need to see it.
Yeah.
You need to just see them dancing together. and I feel the same way about comedians that you do about journalists. You know, like you can't be friends with those people because there's going to come a time where you have to talk
Even his writers look exhausted most nights. You can tell when a joke feels stitched together from half a dozen tweets and a CNN chyron. The punchlines land with the grace of a toddler bouncing on a trampoline of smugness. Every segment feels manufactured in a lab by interns who majored in political science and minored in improv. And, oh, the smug, the endless, suffocating smug. Colbert wears it like cheap cologne, heavy and inescapable. You could dunk him into a tank of humility, and he'd still float back up smirking. When Rogan roasts a subject, it feels like a backyard barbecue where honesty actually matters. When Colbert roasts, it's a vegan potluck where tofu is forced down your throat, and disagreeing makes you the villain. One is authentic, the other glued to a teleprompter with a messiah complex. Megyn Kelly, sharp as a blade, cuts straight through hypocrisy, while Colbert sprinkles glitter on it and declares it truth. You don't need a scalpel to dissect Colbert's act. You just need to stop clapping long enough to think. While Rogan and Kelly engage guests in unscripted, raw discussions, Colbert hides behind political pets who avoid anything resembling honesty. His interviews aren't about discovery, they're about nodding. It's like watching two bobbleheads agree themselves to death.
Here's Stephen Colbert grappling with that news.
Now, if, like me, you're wondering why the Department of Energy is the one making this judgment, it's because that agency oversees a network of U.S. national laboratories, some of which conduct advanced biological research. No. Bad energy department. No biolabs until you finish building your electric car charging stations.
Colbert's show has morphed into therapy sessions for coastal elites, and he plays the unlicensed therapist, scribbling affirmations on a chalkboard that screams, "We're better than them." At this point, if Colbert sneezed on stage, the audience would cheer that the sneeze was vaccinated. His takedowns of political rivals are as predictable as a clock. Trump bad, Republicans worse, questioning the narrative forbidden. Yet every Democratic scandal gets brushed aside with a smirk and a lazy pivot to "but Republicans." His reasoning is riddled with more holes than a fishing net, yet somehow it reels in applause every single time. Rogan, with his sprawling empire and mushroom-fueled tangents, might not suit everyone, but at least he embraces dissent. Colbert invites backup singers, not challengers. One hosts real conversations, the other croons a solo to himself in the mirror. Megyn Kelly, whether you love her or not, calls out hypocrisy wherever it hides. Colbert, meanwhile, offers tougher challenges to his stage lighting than to any politician. Listening to him dissect politics is like hearing someone read a BuzzFeed listicle with the confidence of a preacher. It's shallow, sentimental, and has less depth than a kiddie pool full of warm cliches. His so-called satire feels mass-produced, Etsy-style, polished and ethical, but completely toothless. Colbert has become the iPad for your brain, sleek, smooth, and incapable of handling discomfort.
I mean,
Right? I missed the apology for all the misleading he did.
that's the dedication to dogma. It's a religion for them. They can't give up the fact that they lied to people. They didn't let the truth get out. They silenced and harassed people who tried to talk about the truth. They just can't cope with that.
Stephen Colbert was once hilarious, but now he's just loud in that desperate way people get when they're drowning in yes men and starving for real feedback. No matter how many applause breaks he builds into his monologues, no matter how many forced laughs he squeezes from punchlines disguised as campaign slogans, he will never be the voice of truth. He's become the clown who forgot the jester's job is to mock the king, not shine his shoes. And now we see Rogan and Kelly standing strong with microphones and grit, while Colbert hides behind a smirk, a band, and a moral compass spinning in whatever direction the DNC demands. One's a podcaster, one's a journalist, and the other? A walking, talking Huffington Post article with cue cards. Imagine if Colbert ever stepped into a real debate. Why would he, when his mirror, his writers, and his clapping audience already crown him the winner? His charm has turned robotic, an awkward imitation of empathy that feels hollow and forced. His wit is nothing more than recycled memes, reheated with smug seasoning. Every joke lands like a lecture from the uncle who thinks dad jokes are cutting edge. While Rogan digs into uncomfortable truths and Kelly slices through hypocrisy, Colbert dances around pre-written punchlines, terrified of offending anyone except Trump. Kelly's sharp critiques peel off his polished mask, revealing a performer clinging to fading relevance. At this stage, Colbert isn't a host. He's a cautionary tale of what happens when satire eats itself alive.